The other group were people. The other group were people that I knew personally, like Ted stopped by, my family stopped by. But even though my family stopped by, my daughter and son-in-law are actually in the market. They're starting to look. So, even in those circumstances, it's still an opportunity. And then the last couple were the last couple of people who or groups, if you want to call them that, or families, were they found the property on the internet and were going to stop by to see it, and it happened to be an open house. And so, you know, all of those scenarios, any one of those could be the ones that write the offer on that property. Now, the other side of the coin is that a lot of agents have a tiny little mind and they think they're trying to sell that house. Although, if that's the house that's perfect for the group that walks in, awesome, let's write an offer on this house. But the other side of that is if you're doing an open house, you're doing it to find potential buyers and sellers, not necessarily to sell that house. You're trying to sell them the right house. And that listing is the lure or the hook that gets them in the door. It may be the right house, it may not, but you don't know if you don't get in front of those 6 to 8 people that I've talked to that I wouldn't have talked to had I not shown up.
So, for those who are just joining us, and I did start the video mid-conversation, but I just want to rehash something really quick. Christina here has several listings she put out on our group chat for open house opportunities, and apparently nobody wants to do open houses anymore. And it got me thinking. And this is the thought that I shared when Terry and I first chatted. So for those of you who are just joining us and for our recording watchers, this is an important message. And I had an entirely different message set up for this morning, but you know what? I want to roll with this because this is extremely important. You know, we've come through a couple of tough years, and I got agents coming in here lamenting because you know what? I did an open house once and it didn't work for me. Nobody showed up, or two people showed up and they both had realtors. Or, I don't like picking up the phone. I didn't, I tried calling a few people and they all hung up on me. And, um, you know, target marketing, I tried, they could list the things, right? I tried this and I tried that, didn't work. My point is, the thought that came into my head is that everything works. Everything works. Doing open houses, doing farming, doing phone calling, whether it's FSBOs or expireds, because people are out there making it work. The difference is I don't do one or two open houses. When Terry and I were partnering up, we did what, two or three a month. So it was like we started out every weekend. We got a little burnout. So we went to every other weekend, but we did our open houses. You know what? We did them regularly, week over week, month over month, and we saw results. I'll tell you what doesn't get results. 100% of the time, doing nothing. If you do nothing, 100% of the time, that will get you nothing. That's it. Everything else works as long as you do it consistently over time. And you know what? In this market, maybe, I used to do two or three open houses and I'd get a lead. Maybe now it's five or six open houses and you get a lead because it's a different market. We have to work a little harder. We have to adjust. We have to be willing to do what it takes to pick up the phone call, to handle those objections, to handle all of those things. But you got to do it over time on a regular basis. And that's it. If you choose to do it, you will do it and it will work for you. You will see it. Next thing you know, after a couple of months go by, next thing you know, your pipeline's full, and all of a sudden you get three or four buyers on the line, and you're helping them look for houses, and you're showing and giving tours and all this stuff. And all of a sudden you won't have time to do any more open houses. Don't get caught in that trap. Christina, you're on mute. You can't unmute. Bobasita. Well, Christina, just so you know, you're the one you're the one who spurred this on because I was catching up on all the messages this morning, and it seems surprising to me that nobody's willing to jump on these. So, Christiana, thank you for joining us. What are your thoughts? Christiana might be having a few problems too. So anyway, Terry, what are some of
Oh,
the other things you do over time that give you? Oh, Christiana's in. Hold on.
yes. Good morning. I'm sorry. I was just away from the phone.
You are getting your
Um,
coffee.
Good
I'm
morning.
I'm going to the open houses if they're, not too far for me.
Sure. I understand that. In this particular instance, you can go find them. I'm just, this is for a larger audience. We're having this conversation, and that's great. And I know you have done open houses, and I
Mhm.
think that the message here is got to be clear that we've got to be willing to do what it takes if we want to get busy, and that's the difference. Terry, you had your hand up.
Yeah, you were saying, the point was, hey, everything works. You got to do the work. But I will tell you with confidence that the same numbers, the same math that I taught a few years ago on what percentages we just talked about, and it was the same math. It was a third this, a third that, a third this, and out of those comes the transactions. And and yes, you might have to get through uh, a few more. Like even though I did um, more open houses, I actually didn't door knock. I actually didn't do any Facebook advertising to support those open houses. I just put out signs and did them.
Mhm.
And so, but the same amount of people, the math still works the same. So the
Sure.
same amount of guests. So just like I might have, you know, averaged, 9 or 10 people during busy seasons at an open house, getting the same amount of people through, the math still works the same. It's this percentage of nosy neighbors. It's this percentage of people off the street looking at the sign. It's this many people coming because they saw an internet open house. So it all just works. It's still a numbers game, and whether you're cold calling, whether you're doing open houses, it literally is about taking the action. Take the action and the business will come. I've also, what I notice is every time I start really working my business, the leads don't always come from the direction that I'm working.
Thank you.
All of a sudden it seems like, maybe it's the reticular activating system. Who knows what is actually causing it? But I may be doing open houses, and then all of a sudden a friend calls from Facebook because they saw that I was doing an open house, which reminded them that I was in the business. That is where the business comes from. Sometimes it comes from a different direction than you're actually expecting. And so every single person who walks into the open house is an option and a possibility, but also the actions that I take in regards to that open house or whatever it is I'm doing. In this case, maybe I post a video of me doing the open house, which I do almost every time.
Sure.
I post a couple of things. I post me on the way to the open house with my balloons. And sometimes I'll post me putting out stuff, but I definitely do like a walkthrough video whenever I do the open house. And those additional actions might lead to and have led to more transactions. It's
You,
just simply action of working your business and actually taking consistent actions towards that.
Terry, a couple of points. First of all, you mentioned that you don't do door knocking, and I'm not suggesting that everybody has to do all of these. Pick one. You know what? Some people don't like open houses, but they can talk on the phone all day long. Well, God bless you because you're a rarity. So if you can pick up that phone and go down a list, where do I get the list? Oh, you get the list. I'm going to tell you, number one source for great lists, the RedX. The RedX pulls out, and when you go online, you sign up for RedX. You can sign up for certain things. It will provide you with a list of FISBOs, a list of expireds. I recommend GeoLeads. GeoLeads allows you to go into areas or neighborhoods, draw around them, extract all the contact information for all the owners of all those homes. You get the addresses, you got phone numbers, you can load them into your database, do an email campaign, a text campaign, snail mail, campaign and start farming that neighborhood. And you know what? If you want to make phone calls, they'll scrub the list through the do not call filter. And so you might have 400 houses in the neighborhood. You might end up with 180 homes that you can actually call. Great. Make the calls. Whether it's calling or farming or door knocking or some mix of the others, or maybe, open houses, pick something. Make it your thing. This is my thing. This is what I'm going to do. And it will make the difference. For anybody who is setting goals this year, as we've been talking about the last few weeks, setting goals and trying to block your time and trying to set your goals. We even talked about the 12-week method. Unless you have an activity, an action, an actionable item that you can take to see results, to get you to that goal, unless you choose an action, sitting and waiting. And by the way, I'm not against advertising. I'm all for it. I get your name out there. It helps. But how many people click on, an ad, don't follow all the way through? Yes, it gets you out there, it gets you presence, but it's more passive. I'm talking about taking an active role in your own business, in your own life, your own livelihood. And here's another thing I wanted to touch on, because Terry brought up this point, and I don't know if there's a name for it. I think you use centrifugal, whatever, but this is something I've noticed throughout my life consistently, without fail. Anytime I have poured myself into a project, toward a goal, working toward that, 100% of the time, every time, I have gotten a reward. Now, that reward doesn't necessarily come back from the direction that I'm putting my energy into. Sometimes it comes out of left field, right field, smack you right in the back of the head. It's amazing. It's amazing when you put your energy into something and your energy is getting out there. You know what? I have been a proponent of the power of positive thinking since I was a teenager. I was reading Norman Vincent Peale, Mid McKnight, Zig Ziglar was a big one, Jim Rohn. They all the ones who taught Tony Robbins, right? So anyway, I've always been that, but thinking and action have to go together, and that positive attitude and that putting yourself out there towards something, it's a phenomenal power that a lot of people leave untapped, and that's a God's honest truth. I want to let that sink in. I want to let that sink in. Terry texted, the law of attraction, the RAS, the reticular activating system. Great. They have a name for it. Activate yours today, this week. This is your challenge. Look, we're still at the beginning of a brand new year with brand new goals. I talked to agents who did okay last year, and they want to double their okay to great. They want to double their great to awesome. It's like, okay, let's do that. And even if it's just for the sake of doing it, right? Just to say, like, I was able to double what I did last year. That would be phenomenal. I only did one transaction last year. Great. Do 2 this year. That's awesome. That's 100% increase. But it is. So set your sights on something. And you know what? Honestly, yeah, I'm a real estate broker. We talk about real estate a lot. Everything's about real estate. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes, real estate's a thing to get us somewhere else. And so whatever that happens to be, put your energy and your mind to it and act on it daily, regularly, and not a couple of minutes. Try to carve out a couple of hours to work on your personal project, whatever that happens to be, whether it's mental in nature and educating, or whether it's exercising and getting fit, or whatever that happens to be, pour yourself into it. You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed. But you got to do it regularly, over time. It'll pay off. If I say any more, I'll talk too much. Absolutely. Yeah, whatever you focus on expands, Terry typed in, which means try not to focus on the negative stuff. It's too much of that, right? Focus on the good stuff. Hey, everyone, I want to thank you guys for coming in and joining me this morning. I did have something totally different. I'll play it next week. I like this. This is an important message, and I want to get it out there. So share it, share the news, and you know what? Apply it this week. Set yourself up with your calendar and figure out what you want to do to get to your goal. You know, if you're going to do open houses and it takes you X number of open houses to get a deal, and you want a deal a month, then you need to know how many open houses you have to do to get a deal a month. Just work the math. Maybe it's a mix. Maybe it's open houses and phone calling. Maybe you're going to sign on to the Red X and start going after some farming or some FSBOs or whatever it happens to be. Just drive around town. You don't even have to spend money. Look for every FSBO for sale sign out there. And yeah, you'll make it happen. Terry writes, connect with a minimum of 3 to 5 people daily. Connect. Connect at the bookstore, at the grocery store, at the club meeting, at the PTA. That's way far behind me. No more PTAs for me. But you get the drift. Let's make it happen. All right. And if you're having trouble making it happen, obviously you call your broker, and we'll work on a plan together. And together, we'll help you get where you want to be. Great, everybody. Thanks for joining, and I love you all. So take care. Have a great week.
Thank you, Roy. See you
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Thank you for the motivation.
You're welcome.
Thank you.